Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to Make It as Simple. Pastor Andy here. It has been a beautiful day. I hope that you've had a great day. Hope that you had a great Thanksgiving coming off of that long weekend and all the things that were involved with that. Hopefully, friends, family, and lots of good food and all those different things. But it's time now to move on to the next one. There always seems to be a next one. And Lord willing, in just, whatever, 4 or 5 weeks, whatever it is, 4 weeks, we'll be celebrating Christmas. One of the pivotal decorations, if you will, one of the big things that everybody almost has one, and that we see as a centerpiece of many of the decorative ornaments and different things around this time of the year, is a Christmas tree. It's beautiful. It represents so many different things. As we get closer to Christmas, I think that I'll be sharing with you my study on how to recognize Jesus in a worldly Christmas. I know some people get their dire all up about pagan holidays and about this and that, but I absolutely had the Lord show me several years ago how we can look at everything from the Christmas tree to the ornaments to the candy canes to every bit of it and point you to Jesus. So I think as we get a little closer to Christmas, we'll be talking about that. But today I want to bring a couple of part lesson, and it's called A Tree of Life. So we're going to be talking about trees over the next couple of days. This is important, and I want to share with you why. Proverbs chapter 11 and verse 30. The first part of it, it says, "The fruit of the righteous is a tree of life." Now, when we hear the word tree, all kinds of different things come about in our mind. It's one of those words that are in that category that the second that you hear it, you have an image, a picture, a illustration. You have that in your mind. Immediately, you think of a picture. You think of the tree in your yard, maybe a painting, maybe you've seen one, whatever. We all have that imagery in our head about the word tree. I have several in my yard of all different varieties. And this time of the year, they're great because there's so many different colors. One is gold, and one is red, and one is green, and it's beautiful. You go to the mountains and drive up the Blue Ridge Parkway, you see the leaf colors are just unbelievable. So regardless of the kind of tree, palm tree, we lived in Florida for several years. They're beautiful. Here in South Carolina, they're called palmettos. Same difference. Oak trees, pine trees. I've been out to the redwood forest, the most amazing thing I've ever seen. It doesn't matter what kind of tree it is. When we hear the word, we have a picture, we have an image in our head. What we need to understand about that word, how we pair it up, how we marry it, if you will, with the concept of life. The fruit of the righteous shall be, or is, if you will, a tree of life. So I want us to think about that. How does that come together? How do we marry those two components together, tree and life? Well, it's actually pretty easy because a tree always produces something. Think about that. It doesn't necessarily matter how that product is used, but it produces something. It can absolutely be a fruit. It can be leaves, just to have the observance of the beautiful colors. It produces branches and sap and acorns and nuts. And we could just go on and on and on with the things that are produced. But something is produced. It makes something. And if it doesn't produce a literal item, the tree itself could be used for lumber. It produces something. So in this text, it says, the fruit of the righteous So that word fruit speaks of a literal, a visible matter, something that is tangible, something that is real. It says the fruit of the righteous is a tree of life. What does that mean? What does that mean? If we put it another way, we can say that it says a good life is a fruit bearing tree. Regardless of how we read that or what version you get it from, we gravitate toward the understanding of something, and that is that something is produced, and that something is beneficial to someone else. It's beneficial. It could be a food source. It could be a resource like lumber. It could be for survival, shelter. It could be spiritual foundation. Something comes as a result of the fruit that comes from this tree. If we go back to the story of creation as given to us in Genesis, what was the most valuable thing in the garden? What was the centerpiece, if you will? Now, certainly, we can only imagine the beauty that was there. We can only imagine the perfection that was there. It had to be just amazing, unbelievable, of the incredible beauty of what was there. But as we read that story, as we look at the creation of the animals and mankind and the mountains and the streams, we're drawn, the reader, and indeed the characters, if you will, involved in this story, were drawn to a tree. In fact, two trees. The tree of knowledge of good and evil and the tree of life. This text from Proverbs says that the fruit of the righteous is a tree of life. So I want us to look over the next couple of lessons at becoming a tree of life. In other words, offering something to others that gives life, something that gives hope. We're in a season now of giving. Many will wrap brightly colored bows and papers, and like the old Willie Nelson song, "Pretty paper, pretty ribbons." We all that's coming up, and it's all great. But what is our life producing? Are we a tree of life? Are we producing something that is beneficial? Are we producing something that gives life? Are we producing something that gives hope, that gives peace? Because when we begin to understand that the fruit of the righteous is a tree of life, then we begin to understand that the something that is produced, the something that is given to others, is actually someone. And that someone is the person of Christ. I want to take the next couple of days and spend with you out of this verse from Proverbs chapter 11 and verse 30 and talk about becoming a tree of life, looking at what we produce and is it beneficial. The fruit of the righteous is a tree of life. I want us to go on a journey together and look at the value of what we produce. God bless you. I'll see you tomorrow with a little bit longer lesson as we look a little deeper at becoming a tree of life.